Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We have been considering the problem of Nityattvam and Anityattvam, that is, permanency and impermanency in the topic of metaphysics. And we took an example of Devadatta, who remains constant although his conditions change, such as well-to-do or rich or in utter poverty. So sometimes Devadatta can be in utter poverty because he has lost all his cattle, or he can be well-to-do with all his cattle, or he can be becoming richer with cattle growing and wealth growing. The livestock, in the form of livestock, the growth, it is possession and belongings. So the point is, in Linga Matra, Aling Parva and Linga Matra, Avishesha and Vishesha Parva, how the Nityattvam, Anityattvam comes into question. Now, we heard the postulation that Pradhanatattvam, the Mula Prakruti, is Nitya, while the others, the parinamas which ensue, are Anitya. And there is relativity. Something is more Nitya, something is less Nitya. Like life expectancy in case of living beings, it ranges between couple of years to couple of centuries, perhaps. The life of a man, if it is 100 years, it is quite a long life. In case of certain so-called material things, the life expectancy is too long, such as the sun has a life of 10,000 million years. So, where is 7-8 years life expectancy of some animals? Some creatures have life expectancy of couple of hours. So from couple of minutes to couple of hours to couple of days to couple of weeks to couple of months to couple of years to couple of decades, we have different life expectancies. So the trees, for example, the trees are there for centuries. While human being, we put the uppermost limit to 100 years. And then we say it is full life, a long and full life. In case of some worms and insects, it would be couple of minutes or couple of hours of life expectancy. While on the other hand, the stars, the celestial bodies, their lives are scaled in terms of some millions of years. So in case of those who have long expectancy, we almost tag them as permanent. Like rivers and mountains are permanent because generations after generations will be having the oceans and mountains intact. So the concept is relative subjectivistically. But of course, in metaphysics, we came across the mention that Pradhanatattvam is permanent. The gunatrayas are permanent. Now, a prima facie view raises a doubt here, referring to a quotation from Shveta Ashvatar Upanishad, which appears in 1.10. So the objection is raised up by saying that even Avyakta is impermanent. Avyakta is not permanent as Sankhyas have postulated and have mentioned. Avyakta also has a nasha. And Shvetashvatar Upanishad has said, Ksharam Pradhanam. Ksharam, not Aksharam, but Ksharam. Ksharam Pradhanam. So, metaphysicists are answering this objection. They say that there is something called as Atyantika Nasha, or that is called Pradvamsam. So, when Ksharam Pradhanam is mentioned, it is not mentioning absolute destruction. Because in that case, the Purusatattva, Atma Tattva is also said to be having Layam. Layam is absorption. There is quotation in Agni Pura 368.36. Prakruti Purushascha Ubhau Liyate Paramatmani. So both are going to have laya, that is absorption, into Paramatma. So during deluge, the Purusatattva as well as the Pradhanatattva, both are going to get absorbed into Paramatma. Even the Suvalopanis mentions the Avyaktam and Purusatattva, they are also absorbed. The quotation that you get in Suvalopanis is thus: Mahan Avyakte Viliyate, Avyaktam Akshare Viliyate, Aksharam Tamasi Viliyate, Tamah Pare Deva Eki Bhavati. So it has been mentioned. But it is not absolute destruction. The Samhara, the Nasha, Vinasha are also graded. Atyantika Vinasham. Now there is no Atyantika Vinasham of Pradhanatattvam. And therefore our postulation that Pradhanatattvam is Nitya is intact. It is not dislodged. Although the Upanishads as quoted above mention a kind of laya or absorption. So that's why our postulation that Aling Parva is eternal is quite solid and is beyond any possibility of refutation. Because there is no Atyantika Nasham, there is no Atyantika destruction. So, this objection has been set aside. Now, from Aling Parva, the immediate phase that ensues is Linga Parva, Linga Matra Parinama. And this is clear in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And we are dealing with the same sutra. So that's immediately following parinama in Aling Parvam. Aling Parva to Linga Parva. So, Vyasa has mentioned here with this reference, Lingamatram alingasya pratyasannam tatrata samsrushtam vivichyate kramanati vruttehe. The karya in the form of Lingamatra is immediate, asanna, nikatatama, and immediate. And that too, kramanati vritti, that is, there is no violation of the rule of succession. There is a succession between Alinga Parva and Linga Parva without exception, and that too at any time. The creation similarly is cosmos and not chaos. That there is a system in which the guna parinamas are taking place. They won't be bizarre. They would be having a particular order in which the prakruti parinama takes place. That is why it is universe and it is cosmos. And it is not diverse and chaos. So this also has to be taken into consideration, that it is universe. Creation is the universe and not diverse. And it's also cosmos and not chaos. So Bhashyakara says, Tatha Shad Avishesha Lingamatre Samsrushta Vivichante Parinama Krama Niyamat. So Prakruti Parinama has orderliness. The Prakruti works in an orderly manner. There are no bizarre changes. Alinga to Lingamatra to Avishesha, and Avishesha to Vishesha. So this is unexceptional process which mentions about a kind of system in creation, and that is why, as I said just now, it is universe and not diverse, and it is cosmos and not chaos. There is kramabaddhata. Kramabaddhata means a sequential order of things. There is no erraticism. Nothing is erratic. There is no erraticism. And there are no bizarre processes. Although there are myriad processes, there are no bizarre processes. And that is why it is universe and cosmos. There is kramabaddhata. So, Bhashyakara has made this clear about the creation being cosmos and the creation being universe, and creation not being diverse and creation not being chaos. There is that niyam vaddhata in nature. This is something that should be marveled. Then there are bizarre creations. Although there are myriad processes and universe is really mind-boggling, There is nothing bizarre. There is systematized process. It is very, very, very systematic. And it is something that is to be marveled. Otherwise, there are myriad parinamas, myriad changes. If you look into the whole universe, which is of the nature of sthavara jangama, that is movable and immovable creation, they don't have clashes. Like the planets in the solar system are orbiting for last 4,500 years. And there is system that we see, there is orderliness that we see. It is not that the sunrise and sunset is erratic. The moonrise and moonset is erratic. It is not that the days or the duration of year, which we say to be 365 days in a year, there is no erraticism. It is not sometimes 365 and sometimes 340 and sometimes 380. The earth is also having axial rotation, which gives us a day of 24 hours. It is not that on a day it is drunken and therefore the day will be of 20 hours. On a day you will find a day of 28 or 30 hours. It doesn't happen like that. We can see the systematicness in the whole universe. The planets have been orbiting around the sun for last 4,500 million years, but have not caused accidents. We see that they are orbiting in their own orbits and they do not change the orbits erratically. So everything is quite systematic in nature. The seasons, the day, the year, the duration of day and year, the eclipses are predicted. So there is quite a kind of mathematics and mathematical process in universal phenomenalism. So there is highly systematized process and there is hardly any room for erraticism. And the scale that we see the universe is, on the scale that it is, that there is the sthavara jangama srushti and the guna vyapara, the guna parva, they are very, very, very orderly. This is something that is to be marveled. So also we see that there is a cause and effect relationship in the nature. Therefore, we will know how the things will happen in the nature. The parinamas, the changes which are taking place, there is that orderliness. But then the gunas are such that there can be fascinating permutation combinations to turn out different outputs and products. So that is another marvel, that there can be different permutation combinations taking place. With that, we will turn out different outputs and different products. And from the Vishesha Tattva, we are getting so many manifestations coming up, which are called Bhautika manifestations or physical manifestations. They are really, really mind-boggling. And the Tattvantara Parinama stops at Vishesha Parva. Even as an exception, it doesn't get extended. There won't be Tattvantara Parinama after the Vishesha Parva. So that is also something which is a absolute reality and constant reality. So after having mentioned Alinga, Linga Parva, Avishesha Parva and Vishesha Parva, Vyasa makes an emphatic statement, Na Visheshebhyaha Param Tattvantaram Asti Iti Visheshanam Nasti Tattvantar Parinamaha. So once the Vishesha phase is reached by Prakruti, thereafter the parinamas are there. But parinamas will never be Tattvantara Parinama. They will not be changes in the form of principles, but what will be turned out will be objects. So after Vishesha Parinama, it is not that parinamas are stopping. The parinamas are continuing, and then we get fabulous, multifaceted, multitudinal creation because of the vastu, the objects coming up of various kinds. However, there is no Tattvantar Parinama after Vishesha Parva has got established. And therefore, Patanjali has mentioned only 4 phases: Alinga, Lingamatra, Avishesha, Vishesha. So after Vishesha Parvas, which we count the categories as 16, the parinamas still continue, but the parinamas are of particular nature, whereby they are not Tattvantar Parinamas, but they are only Vastu Parinamas. So what are those parinamas? Yet the parinamas continue. These parinamas are called Dharma Parinama, Lakshana Parinama and Avastha Parinama. So Vyasa says, Tesham tu Dharma Lakshana Avastha Parinama Vyakhya Bhishyante. And these parinamas will be discussed in the 3rd chapter, Vibhuti Pada. So therefore we don't have to take them right away here. So Alinga to Linga Parva and Lingamatra Parva to Avishesha Parva and Avishesha Parva to Vishesha Parva, these are parinamas. And parinamas don't stop here. Parinamas are continuing even after Vishesha Parva has come into existence. But those changes are called Dharma Parinama, Lakshana Parinama and Avastha Parinama, which is the topic that is going to come, as I said, in the later part, in the 3rd chapter. Now, as we have seen the Guna Parvas in this particular sutra, that also gives us a particular idea that there are 4 phases of Prakruti Parinama, namely Alinga, Lingamatra, Avishesha, Vishesha. But there are only 3 parinamas of Guna Parva in another classification. Although this is expressly for, but there is also another perspective with which it can be seen that there are 3 kinds of parinamas, and this has been postulated by Sankhya Shastra, and we are taking cognizance of it. What is it? The first one is Prakruti Matra. The second one is Prakruti Vikruti. And the third one is Vikruti Matra. Because if you recall, we had seen that Alinga Parva doesn't have a cause preceding it. And in Tattvanta Parinama, a Vishesha Parva, particularized phase and Vishesha Parva doesn't have ensuing Tattvantara Parinama. Tattvantara Parinama is stopping at Vishesha Parva, and Tattvantara Parinama is not preceding Aling Parva. So there is no Tattvantara Parinama before Aling Parva. That's why it is called the primeval matter, primordial matter, and there is no matter preceding that. So Aling Parva has no cause and Vishesha Parva has no effect in the sense of Tattvantara Parinama. It will give rise to different dravyas. There will be dravyantara parinama, vastvantara parinama, but not tattvantara parinama. So the generation is stopping at Vishesha Parva, because Patanjali has mentioned expressly 4. And it stops at Vishesha Parva, and there is no further generation of tattvas after Vishesha Parva. So the progeny is stopping at Vishesha Parva, and there is no progeny for Alinga Parva. So this is something that should be taken note of. Before Alinga there is no Tattvantara Parinama as cause, and after Vishesha Parva there is no Tattvantara Parinama as effect. So this is to be understood, and therefore we get this threefold classification which comes in Sankhya Shastra. Prakruti Matra. Then second one is Prakruti Vikruti. And the third one is Vikruti Matra. So, Avyakta Parva is not a Vikruti of anything. Avyakta or Alinga is not a mutation of something. It is, as we have seen, it is self-existent. It is not an effect of anything. Therefore, it is not a mutation of anything. It is not vikara of anything, but it has vikara thereafter. Alinga will have vikara in the form of Mahatattva. However, Alinga is not a vikara of something. So this particular position has to be understood. So, the Avyakta Parva or Alinga Parva is not Vikruti by itself, it is only Prakruti. It generates. It is not a generation, but it generates. So, Alinga or Avyakta is not Karyam of anything. It is primordial cause. The primordial cause means that it is not a cause of something. This point is to be taken note of. Then, that's the first class amongst the 3 mentioned here. Then comes Prakruti Vikruti. Prakruti Vikruti means there is a preceding generator to it and there is following generation to it. So, on the backside of a tattva, there will be a cause, and then there will be effect coming out of it. So that's the phase of Prakriti where it is generator of something and it is generator of something. It is generation of something and it is generator of something. That is called Prakruti Vikruti. And the third one is Vikruti Matra. That means it has a cause but not an effect. There is no effect, Tattvantara Parinama kind of effect. That's why it is called Vikruti Matra. Mutation only. And it is mutation of something, and thereafter there is no mutation. So that's why it is called Prakruti Matra, Prakruti Vikruti and Vikruti Matra. Now let's try to classify the 24 principles in these 3 heads. We have done that for 4 heads. 24 principles, we classified them into 4 heads, namely Alinga, Lingamatra, Avishesha, Vishesha. Now same 24 principles will be classified into 3 categories called Prakruti Matra, Prakruti Vikruti and Vikruti Matra. So Prakruti Matra is only one principle called Avyakta. The Prakruti Vikruti are from 2nd principle to 8th principle in 24 principles of Sankhya. So first principle is Avyakta. The 2nd to 8 are Prakruti Vikruti. And 9 to 24 are Vikruti Matra. Panchamahabhutas and Ekadashendriyas. From there, there is no Tattvantar Parinamaha as seen just a while ago. So therefore, the 24 principles are so tabulated. The first principle is only Prakruti Matra. Principle number 2 to principle number 8, that is Mahat, Ahankar and the Tanmatra. They are 2 to 8. And then 9 to 24 principles, which are Ekadashendriyas and Panchamahabhutas, are Vikruti Matra. So one must be familiar with this classification as well, because it occurs in Sankhya philosophy. Now, another thing that we as students of Sankhya and Patanjala Shastra have to take note of is our own body. And particularly those in pursuit of yoga, how to take cognizance of this body with which they are going to do the sadhana, the yoga sadhana or kaivalya sadhana or moksha sadhana. This deha is said to be kshetra or kshetra prakruti. Now is the kshetra, deha or kshetra, is it different than prakruti vikara, prakruti parinama? That we cannot say, because the body is prakrutika. All aspects of body are generation of Prakriti, they are generated by Prakriti. And therefore, let us try to understand the tattvas in our body, our kshetram, for which there is an Upanishad called Sharirako Upanishad, and it describes Asthi Charma Nadi Roma Mamsascheti Prithivyanshaha. What is the Prithvi element, Prithvi Tattva in our body? Asthi, Charma, Nadi, Roma, Mamsa. Asthi means bones, Charma means dermis, Nadis also, and Roma means hair, Mamsa means the flesh. This is all Prithvi Parinama. The Prithvi Tattva gives rise to these factors in body. Asthi Charma Nadi Roma Mamsascheti Prithivyanshaha. What is Apansha? What is the part of Ap Tattva? Mutra, Shleshma, Rakta, Shukra, Sveda, Apanshaha. The element of water is had by way of Mutra, urine, then Shleshma, phlegm, Rakta, blood, Shukra, semen and ovum, Sveda, perspiration. Though these are apansha, these are of element of water. What is agnyamsha? What is Agni Tattvam in the body? Kshut Trishna Alasya Moha Maithunadi Agni. Again, mention of in the Shariraka Upanishad. Kshut Trishna Alasya. Kshut. Trishna means thirst and hunger. Alasya. So also the inertia, torpidity, laziness. Moha, delusion. Maithuna, the kriya of sexual tendency. They are all of Agni. So Agni Tattva manifests in the body in this form. Kshut Trishna Alasya Moha Maithunani Agnehe. What is Vayu Amsha? Pracharana Vilekhana Sthalaksha Unmeshadi Vayoho. Pracharanam means to spread. Vilekhanam means to run and gallop. Sthalaksham means to walk, to mobilize. And sitting, to be seated and to be walking. And then unmesha. So these are movements like eye flickering, etc. So these are all of Vayu Tattva. What is Akashamsha? What is Akasha? How does it manifest in our body? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Bhayani, Akashasya. So these emotions, Kama, passion, lust, Krodha, anger, exasperation, Lobha, greed and avarice, Moha, delusion, infatuation, Bhaya, fear. These are all Akashasya. These are all Akasha parinamas. So it is noteworthy as to how 5 elements manifest in the body. And the texts of yoga have also described these, and Shariraka Upanishad out of the Shrutis also have mentioned about it. Now about Pancha Mahabhutas, the Vishesha Vichar or specific thought or specific delineation has come in the 3rd chapter, where there is mention of Bhuta Jaya in the 44th sutra of 3rd chapter Vibhuti Pada. We are going to consider the 5 elements in our body with greater details in Vibhuti Pada 44th sutra as well. But here just we are taking note of the Lakshanas, and therefore Vachaspati Mishra, who has few couplets in Vibhuti Pada 44 Sutra, we are just taking gist of it so that we will understand. The Prithvi Tattva manifests in our embodiment by way of Akara, that is shape and form and configuration of the body. Akara, Jadatva. Jadatva means the inertia in our body and materialistic aspect of our body, the material aspect in our body. The body is always made up of materials. There are materials in the body. That is Jadatva. Then dryness in the body. Then veiling nature. Like we cannot be seeing internal organs because they are veiled under the dermis, the coats of dermis, the skin. They are all veiling the internal body. The vision can be had under X-ray. So the physical or the earthen aspects also give a covering to something that doesn't become visible naturally and normally. For those to become visible, we have to take recourse to something that we call as X-ray or scan. So achadita, they do give the achadanam, they veil, they cover. So the body is covered by the skin, the dermis. That is because that's the Prithvi. Then sthirata, the stability, firmity. So that is also Prithvi Tattva. Sarva Bhutadharata, supporting the all beings, because the life is always encased in our body. So that's why we say life has gone. Life has gone means what? Which was encased in embodiment goes away. So the Prithvi Tattva maintains the life force within the body. Sarva Bhutadharata Vidaranam. So also on the plane of mind, constancy, tolerance. That's also Prithvi Tattva. Krishnata, complexion, Kathinya, hardness and solidity is because of the Prithvi Tattva. And Sarva Bhogyata, these are the dharmas of Prithvi Tattva. Then Vachaspati Mishra in the 44th Sutra of the 3rd chapter mentions about Aptattva, element of water. Sneha, Sukshmata, Prabha, Shuklata, Bruduta, Gurutva, Shitalata, Rakshana, Pavitrata, Sammelanam. So this is how the water element manifests in our body. There is fluidity. In our body there is fluidity. Our bodies are not rock solid. They are not like rock. There is fluidity in the body, therefore we can move the body. Sukshmata, there is also subtlety in the body. Prabha, kind of effulgence, brightness. Whiteness, Shuklata, that is because of the water, the fair complexion, that is element of water. Then Bruduta, softness. So also some heaviness. When the water is contained in a container, we know it becomes very heavy. So 70% of our body has liquid substance, and it accounts for our body weight. Shitalata, the body is also not hotter than those 38 degrees of Celsius or something, which otherwise becomes a fever. So that's why the body doesn't become hotter than the 38, 39 degrees or 98 degrees Fahrenheit. You can't get a body which has temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 125 degrees Celsius. So there is Shitalata, that means there is temperate condition. Rakshana, so also it protects ourselves. The Jala Tattva protects our existence. That's why we say dehydration means it is a killer. The water is preserving the life within us. So water preserves the life, and we are life, and we are preserved by water element within us. So also Pavitrata. Pavitra means auspicious. So the auspiciousness is also coming to the embodiment because of water. And Sammelanam. Sammelanam means the internal social culture, social tendency, friendliness, affiliations, affections, bondage. All these things are because of the element of water. Then describing the Teja Tattva, Vachaspati Mishra tells us, Urdhva Gamanashilata, Pachakata, Dahakata, Pavitrata, Laguta, Prakashata, pradhvamsashilata, balashilata. So these are all of Agni Tattva. Urdhagamanashilata, that is upward movements, elevation. The Teja, because the fire will be always having the flame pointing upwards. We don't see the flame pointing downwards. So that is Urdhagamanashilata, Pachakata. Our fire digests the food that we eat. It is the gastric fire which digests the food. So Pachakata, processing in the body. And Dahakata. So also the body has a temperature. As we just now said, that the body has a temperature of 98 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you have sat in a particular place for a long time and when you get up from there, your seat is hot. That means there is Dahakata, the body has temperature, the body has heat. Then Pavitrata. So also the fire is a purifier. Like water is a purifier, air is a purifier, fire is also purifier. So Pavitrata. Then Laguta, lightness. When you give temperature to something, it becomes light. When the air gets temperature, the air is heated, it becomes light and it goes up. So anything that gets heated, it becomes lighter rather than becoming heavier. Then Prakashakata, luminosity, effulgence. Then Pradhvamsashilata, the fire is a destroyer. So also the body has constant destruction taking place. In metabolism, there is always destruction. The cells are dying, cells are taking birth. And the rate of dying of the cells depends upon body temperature. Then Balashilata, power. Strength and power is fire manifestation. That is about the fire, element of Teja. Now element of Vayu. Element of Vayu means haphazard movements. Like our mind moves haphazard. Pavitrata, Chanchalata, and absence of Achadanam, absence of covering. And then dryness. So all these aspects in body are because of Vayu. And Akasha, Vyapakatvam, Vibhajakatvam, Avakasha Pradhatatvam are Akasha Tattva. Vyapakatvam, the body has a size, growth and size. The body grows. That is Vyapakatva. It is Akasha, Vibhajakatva. So also it divides in the body that this is limb part, this is trunk part, this is head part, this is lower limb part, this is upper limb part, this is back part, this is front part, this is right side, that is left side. All this division is because of Akasha Tattvam. Then Avakasha Pradhanatattvam, it also gives space. Body takes space and body gives space. So that's how Panchatattvas are seen in our body. Now we are going to proceed to understand the point of view of Naiyayikas, the logicians, and the Advaiti Vedantins, who have little difference in opinion. So we are going to consider that with regards to senses. But we will reserve that for next time. Enough for the time being. Since we are dealing with metaphysical matters, these are quite terse matters, tough matters. I don't want to load too much in a session. And therefore we are reserving for our next session. So enough for the time being. Namaskar all of you.